fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren. Heard on KCAQ 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery, and I'm Al Warren. Mr. Joe Goldberg, the spy devil himself, is sitting in on this one.
I'm here for you, Al.
Well, it's great. You got your new book coming out, and it's pretty exciting. So, big build up for it.
Yeah, it's a hectic time. Get that book out, do it right. So readers enjoy it. That's the point.
Yeah, you're going to get out there and do a big pile of book signings, right?
I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Well, for the stores, that'll take you.
Yeah. A lot of them seem to be coming and they lock the door really fast and put the shades down. Is he there? Is he there?
Yeah, I know. They pretend they're not home.
Yep.
Well, fantastic. Well, today we've got a techno thriller writer. So it's kind of on your alley in a sense, like thriller, excitement.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
So let's see. We've got Mr. Charles V. Breakfield, and we're going to talk about his Enigma series. So welcome to the show, Charles.
Ellen, appreciate you having me in, and good to be in very esteemed company with Mr. Goldberg, too. So thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, I got to get him to autograph my arm later.
Okay.
I'll get to it.
So now, Charles, you have written a lot of books. I kind of see, in reading about you, I kind of see a similarity about you can't really stop. You know, you can't just kind of sit. There's always something on the go, and I'm kind of the same way. Has this been the way for you since the beginning? Have you always been that way?
My co-author and I, we started off writing technical manuals for the company we were working for, and we were doing a lot of professional services, white papers, that sort of thing. And so we got into the habit of being able to write clearly and deliver deliverables to customers that said, okay, hey, it's broken. I don't know where, or can you tell me what I need to do to fix it? That was okay. Then we got approached by a company that says, hey, how about doing some tech manuals for us? And we said, sure. It wasn't very satisfying because as soon as they were done, they were out of date. You ever see those tech manuals with version 2, version 35, that kind of thing? Well, that's what happens on those. And so I got fed up and I said, gathered up all my marbles and stomped off and said, I'm not doing this any longer. She's a little more persistent than I am, I guess. She came back at me in about, 6-8 weeks and said, let's do fictional thrillers with the technology in the background mode. I went, all right, I'm listening. Go ahead. And he said, I wasn't quite convinced until she got to the part where she said, and the good part is we could whack people, kill them, and not go to jail. And I went, oh, wow, this has got fantastic possibilities. So, where do I sign? So, that's where we got started. We started off with, the first one, which was, identity theft. That was a good place to start. Having your identity wiped off and, you not know where you go to be able to find it again is kind of a real terrifying experience. But what we noticed was that there was always new technical hurdles, challenges, threats, if you will, being cooked up by the bad actors from the dark side. So it's like this conveyor belt of information and technical threats. Like, hey, this is kind of cool. We've got an endless supply of neat stuff coming at us to be able to distill and then pack in and around our characters, and gives us a chance to keep it fresh, and vital when we're writing. So we're not just using the same formula, because that's not fair to the readers, in my estimation. So we spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time researching the landscape. Okay, what's new? What's coming at us again from this direction? What have the bad guys thought of that we hadn't expected? and we turn those into one thriller after another.
Well, do you sort of consider yourself science fiction in a sense?
No, because this is all technology that's available today. That's some people are surprised by that statement. They go, "Oh, come on, really? Some of the stuff? No kidding. Who do you think you're trying to fool here?" Oh no, right here. And so it's actually technical fact, but it's distorted in a way to be able that only an evil genius, psychotic evil genius, might be able to to twist and manipulate to their personal advantage. And so that's where the fictional part comes in. But it's we're not doing time travel. I'm not going to a different planet. This is all stuff that's going on in our backyard today.
Right. So it's kind of a crime mystery detective sort of. How do you classify it?
Well, a techno thriller, it's in such that usually there's what we lead into something that's sort of unknown, but it's got these horrific consequences to who's ever it's being directed at. And so our champions, the R group, their third generation cybersecurity techno characters that have evolved from their ancestors from World War II all the way down to present day, and they have built an information dynasty that basically, when you're in trouble and nobody can help you, these are the people you go to. Say, get my identity back. Help me take this cyber thug off my neck. Help me unwind the problems that this lunatic is generating for trying to re-engineer human beings to live forever.
I have a couple questions, and they sort of run together. Yeah, you got a lot of characters in your book, and is technology? Do you treat it as its own character? Does that have like a personality, a beginning, middle, end that a human character may have?
Well, I mean, we have the human characters, and a lot of them are people. Attributes that we've seen in people over time. People we've known, people we dislike. Okay, those are the ones that get whacked. But we actually, to your point, which was very insightful, we do have a supercomputer that starts with the first book, and we actually, and this is kind of the juxtaposition that we show him. His name's Ichabod. He is a learning artificial intelligent computer that has got the guardrails built around his logic sector to be able to say, okay, this is out of bounds. This is okay. This is where you can help. This is and he evolves throughout the 12 books we've got on the shelves right now. There's one book where he's like trying to understand humor. There's another one where he's, he slips into, an indignant configuration or discussion with his creator, and the banter back and forth between the human and an artificially enhanced supercomputer makes for very interesting character analysis and kind of gives a foretaste for what could happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So that we're really exploring. This is what could be. This is an evolution for, silicon. Computer traces on a board. There are things that this thing can achieve. Is it completely out of bounds? No. Is it completely under control? That's a better question. And we actually exercise that one in book number 11, Who Won the AI Wars, in the Enigma Beyond.
Well, then that leads me, that's actually really insightful. Thank you. And you're writing a series, and technology is your genre core theme. And you have characters that come and go as you cross the series. Are you starting with the technology and the issue, or are you starting with the human characters or the supercomputer and putting them in the world of the technology, or is the technology coming down on top of the characters inside your book? Am I making sense?
Yeah, it's there's no there's not an easy formula for what you're asking, Joe, because it's not.
I know. That's why I have to stop. That's why I'm on the radio, Charles.
Well, okay, yeah, that's okay. And to your point, I'll give you my best answer, and my best is none too good. So, but sometimes it's the characters, they get caught up in as a sideshow in a technology issue, or the technology issue will spiral out of control, and then it starts vacuuming up characters and put them into these awkward positions, and that's where the thriller, the excitement for the story comes from. Is how did we get here? How do we get out alive? And how do we fix this? So each one's a little bit different. Some of them are remarkably different. Because it's we're trying to get something that's fresh and not the same old formula that it's easy to slip into, and we try to resist that all the time.
Good answer. Thank you.
You put a lot of thought into what you're trying to get across. I'm thinking that you do have a subtext in this. Besides the entertainment value, the excitement, the thrill, and the suspense throughout the story, there is an underlying subtext. I'm guessing this by the subject you're talking about.
That's again, Alan. That's a very insightful question. Yes, it's things to consider. Things that like sometimes that what we see are people and situations where, well, let the computer sort this out. Well, the old joke that we used to say in the tech world is like, computers give you very fast, very accurate mistakes. And they work off of the stuff that you fed into them. And sometimes they'll take up material that you had no idea was on the table for consumption. So that kind of gets us to that discussion of where are the guardrails for the technology that's being rolled out today. I'm not advocating return to the abacus and a magnetic compass, but there are places where, and I've already seen it. If you here's an easy example. People advertising for jobs that they need filled, and resumes come in. There are programs now that don't even have a human being look at the resumes until they're fed into this artificial intelligent program that goes through, looks for keywords, scans everything, categorizes it, and basically spits out, here's what you need to look at. Wow. The job seekers, if they could understand that this is what's happening to their resume, and that they're being graded by a software program before a human being even looks at it, where's the humanity and the personal touch for building a winning team if all you're going to do is run it through an algorithm that says, give me the best person for the least amount of money?
And that's interesting too, because we all know that we're living in that world, and we just kind of say, hope somebody's dealing with it. But for your readers, what's your concern, or what's your process to make sure that they're able to understand some of these topics, which are unnerving or highly technical, ever present in their lives? Do you have a filter that you kind of make sure that it's readable to these people, your readers?
Well, and part of that is running it through a humor filter. We get into this, and that you're right, Joe. It's easy for me to slip into an acronym hell, and basically
jargon.
Yeah, jargon, and it's like part of what we do is we take some of the jargon and we turn it into humorous events. We make up acronyms just basically to prove the fact that here I can poke fun at my world, because the high tech world. If you've ever been to some of these conferences, and I get to go to some of the neatest stuff in the world. If you stepped into it from a completely foreign, alien environment, it would sound like gibberish, because everything is turned into acronyms and fast flowing, and it's assumed everybody knows that. So we take a different approach. We take some of that stuff apart and show, here's it's digestible, in these kind of sound bites, and then let's put a little bit of humor on it. Now, I told you about Ichabod. Um, that's actually an acronym too, and it stands for Immersive Collaborative Associative Binary Override of Deterministic Systems. There's no such thing as that. That we made that up. So to make sure that the reader is pulled in, like we're not all serious. There's some lighthearted. Yes, there's some romance in there. Yes, there's humanistic feelings, and there's the one of the best reviews we got on one of our book number 10, which is about cryptocurrency. The reviewer actually complained. He says, "I didn't like that character. I really didn't like that character, but I couldn't help but feel sorry for him. I didn't want to, but I did." If I can get that kind of emotion, that means that we've delivered a story. We've delivered something more than just, here, let's put some technology together and run, strap in some characters and make a run for it. I think we're actually delivering some emotional examination for some of the characters that we've built.
So now your characters are very important, obviously, to you. Let's talk about, first of all, how do you experience your characters? And I ask that not because I'm a weirdo. Well, I am, but I think that the question is a lot of fiction writers will talk about experiencing their characters. They'll see them like a movie in their head, or they hear voices, or they sometimes talk to them. There's all, I get all of that. And of course, I'm strictly a nonfiction writer, so it's completely an opposite thing. So what is your personal experience with your characters?
I don't know about you guys, but we will have a character that we'll start off with, and we start putting in those thoughts, those feelings. We put them under a microscope in some of the scenes, and then something happens that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to explain it to you, Alan, but the character actually talks to me and says, "This is where I need to go. This is what I believe this character is going to need. This. He's going to need some empathy. He's going to need some challenges. He needs a healthy dose of being a hero, reluctant or otherwise, makes no difference." So sometimes it's the character telling me, "This is what I'm doing."
Right. I have that sense when I get stuck, I look at it and say, "Hey, character, tell me what you're going to do next." All right, here you are, go. And they talk, then they do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're listening.
Wow. So Charles, do they talk to you while you drive? And
I'll be honest. What happens is usually I get, I'll dream about them and wake up and I'm fresh in the morning. I'm like, whoa. I can't wait to get this down on the keyboard. So, give me a pot of coffee and, take care of the hound dogs and then crank on it for 2 hours.
Yeah, and but are you waking up with a shovel in your hand?
Well, I haven't been burying any bodies, if that's what you mean. No.
So you wake up in the morning and you've had this dream. How do you deal that with a co-author? Because I've thought about that, had some approaches. So what's your process? I'm assuming Rox isn't right next to you saying, "Hey, I had this idea."
Well, what we do is we use the technology. We sketch out like 10 or 20 chapters for a new property, and then we'll take. I want to take these chapters. Okay, she wants to take those chapters, and then we use our patent pending literary technique, writing technique called literary badminton. I'll write a chapter and, hack on it, toss it over to her, and either one or two things will happen. It's like, okay, let me see what I can do with this. I see where you're going. Okay, this is good. The other response is, Charles, you missed taking your meds again, didn't you? Okay. So, yes, there's but that examination and it's a polishing effort that we go through, not just for the characters, not just for but also for the story and for the overall series. Because when we get finished, it has to read like there was only one person writing it. Even our editor will come in every once in a while, my wife, and say, who wrote this? And I'll look at her and say, yeah. So it's not, we don't, I don't want anybody to be able to say, okay, this is Charles' chapters, this is hers. No. With the polishing effort of batting it back and forth, we come up with a very innovative storyline that's intriguing enough to have people just keep turning the pages.
Do you have difficulty writing a real evil or a person that's real sinister in your books? Is it more difficult to do that?
Well, I was on, Rox and I were on a Channel 8 call here in Dallas where they were doing this interview, and they asked me that same question. And I said, well, we look for, interesting characters. Sometimes we will actually send out a note to our readership and say, we're looking for a new femme fatale, evil femme fatale, or a new evil genius, or a new reluctant hero, any takers. And then we'll actually say, give me some material about you. But that interviewer that we were on Channel 8 with, I got her blushing about the color of her pink outfit that she was on. Because I said, but actually, now that you mention it, we are looking for a new evil femme fatale. Do you have a resume, ma'am? And, and you could hear the technicians in the background laughing. And then she's like, I caught her off guard. And I said, I followed on with, I will need some references too to go along with it. So by that time, you could hear them really cackling in the background, and I guess she had made a motion like, hey, go to commercial because I'm cut.
Now you also use some of your people that you've come across and you turn them into characters, or you base them on that. How is that? Like, do you take people you don't like and put them in the bad positions where they get killed or something?
I try not to do that. Well, yep. Okay. I just shouldn't be fibbing on open mic here. Yeah. We actually have one that, it was very gratifying to have him, assassinated. But in book number 2, we actually pulled out some people that I had met, that were, most unsavory characters. And I didn't realize at the time, partly because, my brothers recommended that they talk to me. One guy shows up. I'm trying to make a living at real estate. Go figure, right? Anyway, this guy comes in and he sucks all of the air out of the room. He's like 6'4". He must have been about 220 and carrying a briefcase, and said, your brother said that I should talk to you about buying real estate, and I'm here to buy real estate. But one thing, and he opens up his briefcase and points his .357 Magnum at me and says, if you screw with me, I'll blow you away. And I said, and I thought about it at that point. I said, that sounds fair. Okay. All right. We'll do it that way. It wasn't, but 2 or 3 months later, I changed jobs. I said, okay, I'm starving. I got to get a real job. Sorry, there it is. I admit it. I'm no good at real estate. The FBI shows up at my new job. They are looking to talk to me about this character that I'll only refer to as JC because he's probably out of prison by now. Anyway, they said, what kind of money did you get from this guy? I said, nothing. That's why I'm over here in this job. Okay. And they said, I said, why? What's the deal? He said, well, we can't really prove it, but we're pretty sure that he murdered his first wife for the insurance for her, and he used that money to start his drug running business. And I went, I had to pick my jaw up off the ground. I was stunned. These 2 feds, telling me all this, and I said, and of course, like my voice goes up a couple of octaves, and I sound like Mickey Mouse. And I said, so do I have to worry about this guy coming after me? I said, nah, he's got more problems than somebody like you, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. I didn't sleep very well for a month after that. I kept thinking every time you heard a noise, he's back. He's here to get me for something. So he's in that book. I also got to work with the bank robber. That was kind of fun. He's also in the book too. I'll let you, if you get time to be able to read book number 2, the Enigma Rising. There are several people in that book that were they made great characters because they were true.
You ever worry about them coming after you?
Well, that's the funny thing about us Texans. We're usually pretty heavily armed, and so I'm not going down without a fight. I'll tell you that.
Now, each one of these books in the series does stand alone. Like you don't have to do them all in order, right? And do it
That's
that way.
that was the ambition. I don't think we've always considered it unfair to say, oh, you have to start from the beginning. Now, let's be honest here. They are richer if you start at the beginning and read forward, but they're all written so they can be enjoyed standalone. If I only get you for one book, I want it to be a great experience. So that's always been our commitment to the readers that take a look at our books and say, this looks kind of interesting. And if they look at the back cover and say, yes, this looks tasty. Let's go with this one. A lot of times with book fairs, what we'll do is we'll start off with just exactly that question. What do you like to read? What kind of techno thriller? And we get along those lines, and they say, which one should I start with? I said, we talk a little bit, we had one gal that, she's like, oh, yeah, this sounds fascinating. How to live forever. She just come off of cancer therapy. And, we were talking about some of the engineering, techniques that were postulated in that, the book always. And, she's like, oh, I've got to have this. I don't think I'll ever get to the other ones, but this is what I want. So, we try to, exactly for that reason, so they're written standalone, so somebody can enjoy it out of sequence.
Hey, Charles, has any of the research you've done on technology sort of surprised you? And said, "Oh, I didn't know that was possible," and you put it in the book, and then you sort of go futurist and say, "Oh, I better think about what's going to happen next," and put it in my book to be ahead of the technology curve. Is that how your brain works, or am I off on that?
Oh no, Joe, that's a good question. And with book number 10, which is about cryptocurrency, we postulated that Venezuela would have to, because of the way they've destroyed their economy, would have to go to a cryptocurrency offering basically to stay alive. And before I got the book out in March of that year, they announced, we're going with, here's our cryptocurrency offering. It's like, 4 or 5 years ago, whenever that happens. I can't remember exactly what year that was announced, but it's with our book number 10. And so it was kind of gratifying to be able to have predicted that before it actually came true. So that's also the spooky part, Joe.
Yep. Watch out for Charles there.
Yeah. Find out what's going to happen. Read the next book.
Well, what's next, Charles? What's the technology that we are not paying attention to that's going to show up and become a character in a book? If you can.
Oh well, then that's if you look at the book number 11. The Enigma Beyond, and Who Won the AI Wars, and the companion, which is the Enigma Threat, which is sort of the next phase of that, the AI Wars. They both stand alone, but they kind of complement each other because of the way that they're built. So that's all about artificial intelligence and where the guardrails are lost in the translation and the I'll let you read the primers on it and a first few pages of it. I will give you a teaser. In the beginning of the book of number 11, we actually have the several tech titans being interviewed. Okay, well, grilled is more correct by the a U.S. Senate congressional hearing. Questioning their loyalties to the American to the world population, and they're obviously unrepented because they put foam in their ears so they can't hear the screeching, barking of the Madam Chairwoman. So that sets the stage for technology out of control.
We have a bleak future, is what you're saying.
Well, the future is always. That in book number 5, we talk about, predicting the future with big data lakes and, massive parallel processing. There's always some variable that nobody accounts for in the future. So predicting it is a little bit awkward. Most of it just guessing, like, well, this should happen, maybe, sort of, kind of. but at the same time, there's a lot of things that we need one or two more things to be omitted or overlooked, and that future is quite possible. So we try to capture those little nuances and subtleties to say, are you looking at all the pieces, guys? When this happens, did you say, oh, well, it's okay? It's a computer, that the computer should be giving us good answers. But letting the computer make decisions for you. It's okay if I'm looking at firewall rules and the logs. We're like, okay, did I have an intrusion in my network environment? Yeah, I could see AI, taking care of that, but only that. Them making the decision to say, we have this scenario, send off the drones, and pound this out of this location. Whose responsibility is that to be able to control the artificial intelligence decision making, and how is that maintained by the humans? That's a very interesting topic, and it's such a gray area that even the military is having trouble trying to figure out. Okay, yeah, where do we draw that line? Well, it should be right here, but what if it goes over that line? And those are the areas that I don't get into a whole lot of the military stuff, although I dearly love listening and watching all the neat stuff that they're programming. But it's a very frightening area for the use of artificial intelligence to make snap decisions based on maybe questionable input.
So what do you hope someone gets out of your book? If someone reads one of your books, they pick up number 11 there and they're reading it, what do you hope at the end of the book they take away?
Entertainment and enlightenment. Oh, this looks like an orbiting space station that's been compromised, and the supercomputer on board is now under control by the bad guys. How is that possible? How is it possible on this planet? It happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm locking
turn
my
you
door.
off, Charles.
I can see this being my last time on the show. Okay.
Well, beginning of the end here. No, it's totally interesting. I love it. What do you consider a good book? Like when you sit down and read a book, and what is it that you think are the best aspects? Like what's important to you?
If I read for historical reference. I like my passion is World War II and the insanity. How does this happen? Okay, this domino hit, this linchpin went, this event occurred and nobody stopped it, and that's where the book series actually gets its origins. In 1939, we postulated that we didn't postulate. In 1939, the Germans invaded Poland and basically started World War II. They overran it in 30 days. We postulated that there were three patriots that signed up for and pulled off the heist of the Enigma machine the Germans used to encrypt all their battle plans, communications, blah, blah, blah. And their ambition is to get it out of Poland and into the hands of the Allies. And that's the novella we wrote called Out of Poland. So all the technical facts historical facts that we have in that they're all, it's the research that I love doing. It's how did the world go insane? Because that's a lot of what is happening today. And so the R group gets their beginning from those three gentlemen that said, I'm going to take on evil. We're going to fight it. We're going to take the high moral ground, and we'll teach our children and their children to fight for what's right. So the series is also about injustice, how to fight it, how to be able to challenge it. Because sometimes that's all you have is looking back at the history, the events that did occur, where the mistakes were, because the old adage: if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. So that's where some of the directional statements that we like to have as subtext for the novels.
Yeah. How long does it take you to research one of these novels?
Well, Well, I'm still working in the tech world as a solution architect, so I get to see all kinds of weird junk, popping up all the time. Here's new threats. I stay on mailing list to see, okay, OMG, this is what they're doing now. Oh God. So I get to see the technical aspects. I get to see the political effects. Those are all almost real time, Alan.
Yeah.
And then the historical stuff. I mean, I've been reading World War II materials. My favorite theater is the Eastern Front, which is really insane. But also here's what's going on in the main European theater and the Pacific theater. All lessons, all concepts. I guess they're always percolating somewhere, somehow, in maybe a scene, a chapter, maybe half the book. And of course, some of the research that we've pulled in, because we've traveled around the world to be able to see different places. I've taught technology to the people down in Brazil. Worked with the developers in Galway, Ireland. And Rox has traveled to Japan to be able to deliver technology training to those people in that location as well. So a lot of that is also research that gets baked into the books, because that gives it that global feel rather than just a U.S.-centric feel.
As you're doing your research, do you ever sort of self-censor yourself and say, you know what, we probably shouldn't cover that topic yet, or that might not be something that's good for a book type of thing?
Sometimes it's
too scary, something like that.
What is too scary? I guess it's probably the question I would pitch back at you, Joe. Is it too scary to say, oh, I'm going to stick my head in the sand and hope it goes by? Or is it,
for some,
or is it, no, I want to take this head on. My family is at stake. The people that I associate and work with are at stake. How can I just turn a blind eye to it? I can give you the information. You may not like it. You may resent me for it. But at the same time, I'm compelled to be able to say, don't think everything's wonderful, because it's we're at the edge.
Well, there you go. Where are your influences coming from?
Well, I mean, the high tech world is always building something new. I've been certified as an engineer on several technologies that nobody's ever heard of since. You're always looking at the next thing that's coming down the pipe, and sometimes it's what's the old phrase? Everything old is new again. So everything going into the cloud, there's a lot of the same things that we did in the 80s and 90s that are just it's rebranded. Sometimes I get to laugh at that, because the young pups don't quite understand all that. But in the tech world, everything turns over in like 18 months. It's all changing. Every 2 years, I change jobs, basically to get the next stair step where, hey, I want to see what the new stuff is going on, and how to consume it. How is it being consumed? And those are the teaching events that give us those insights into what could be the next horizon.
Yeah. Well, what's your structure like when you sit down and write? And this is interesting now, because are you the type of writer that has to be in the right mood, or can you just time yourself and say, okay, well, I've got the house clear today from 10 to 2, and so I'm just going to sit down and write, and you can just turn it on? Or does there have to be this certain mood that comes across?
Sometimes it's just a button goes off, or a switch that it's flipped. It's like, stop what you're doing. I'm on a boring conference call, and they're talking about processes and things that we've talked about 3 or 4 times. I'm like, oh, that's uninteresting. I'll just take the headphones off and plug into my world and launch. Yes, it's better to have okay, every day at this time. That's one discipline. I wish I could say I comfortably have it every day. I don't. Sometimes it's like everything's on fire, and we're traveling at Mach 1, and and then nothing happens, and nothing settles down until like 1 or 2 p.m. And then it's like, I have this idea. By the way, that's the four most terrifying words in either of our vocabularies. If either one of us says that, Charles, Rocks, I have an idea, it's usually like, put on your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Charles, following up on that, I know you do research for your book and you like World War II history. So do I. In fact, I just finished a book about 2 hours ago on World War II. Do you read outside entertainment in your genre, or do you only read for book research? Is there, who inspires you as a writer to become a writer and to be a writer?
To be honest, one of the best writers, one of the most writers that I really admire, Kevin J. Anderson, and his work with Brian Herbert on the Dune series. What a remarkable series, because it spans the multiple planets and centuries and next generations and the segmentation of the different houses within the Imperium. So I like the way that those are constructed. I like the polish and the storytelling about attributes. It's like, okay, when I get a chance and at night, power down and look at what the next chapter is going to be for that. And the writing style is immersive. You get into it, you feel the characters, and sometimes that'll get me thinking about, okay, what can we do in our particular world? But as far as reading, the people in my particular field, let me be honest, I have a little bit of trepidation about doing that because it's too easy to, what a great idea, let me snitch it. No, I want our stuff to be our stuff, and we can get input from history, very, very small smatterings of powerful authors like Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert. But I'm always concerned about the subliminal confiscation of somebody else's idea, and I don't want to be guilty of that. So sometimes it's like, I don't want to get off into their world because I don't want to have it show up in mine. Does it make sense, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking I might go back to, since you're doing it, I thought you could go back to Arthur C. Clarke and Isaac Asimov and that crowd too, who were taking societal issues and making science fiction out of them.
Yeah. Well, and there's I never really read all of their stuff. Bits and pieces. So most of it is stuff that we've built on our own, and I like to feel proud that there was nothing that I lifted, or a literary technique, or a character or a sentence from somebody else's stuff, because I wanted to have to be saying, this is mine. We built this, and I can honestly say we didn't. There's no plagiarism in that thought process. Now, plagiarism comes in a variety of different ways. It could be an idea, or it could be now, I do take a couple lines from movies every once in a while, but we build a parallel thought, or build something that morphs into something that only we would say. So I'm very fussy about making sure that our stuff doesn't look like somebody else's.
Have you ever gone back to one of your first books and reread it and thought about you'd like to rewrite some of it or something like that, or change something?
It's curious you'd say that, Alan, because actually we've been doing that. Our first book was published in 2012, The Enigma Factor. And by the time we got to book 10, Rock said, dude, I want to go back and revisit the earlier editions. Look how much we've learned. And I thought, what, really? And to her point, we went back and looked at it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's some things here that this could be better. So we've been going back through, based on new writing skills we've developed, and things that some of the writers' conferences, they say, do it this way, not that way, kind of thing. And we've re-released the first 7 at this point in second editions, new covers, refresh on the some of the words, the phrases, character polishing, just to give it that freshness and make it a better experience. So, yeah, absolutely, we've done that, and it's sometimes we had one book where we're like, oh, golly, I'm so embarrassed. I wish we should spend more time on this one. So it's a good exercise, and it gives us the opportunity to be able to turn out a better property.
Yeah, and it's kind of something I think all writers face, because as you progress, and then you go back and you read something that you did 10 years ago, and you're like, oh God, wow, yeah.
I'm doing that now.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Keep rewriting the same book and relaunching it. That's.
I haven't read it in a long time.
Does the world sort of, because you're so dealing with technology and things that are going on, do you ever kind of do you ever want to do something different? How's that? Do you ever want to stop writing this and kind of go into a different direction?
Well, gee, I'm glad you got the notes I sent you, Alan, because this is, leads us right into a piece of of us that that surprised us. Yes, we're actually working on. We just released a new book called The Flower Enigma, and it's a cozy mystery. And it's got a little bit of technology in it, but it's got it's part of a. You may find this interesting. We got tangled up with about 10 other authors in a project where the lead renegade, that I call him, Caleb, said, "Here," and he basically threw out this picture of a boat, little single mast sailing, that's kind of beached up on the shoreline. And he goes, "Everybody, write me a short story about what you would think that would use this boat in your story." And so we did. And we had so much fun doing it. Basically, we put it out as the underground authors. Some of we stayed within our own genres, and it was a delightful collection of short stories. As soon as they got published, one of them said, "Hey, why don't we do the same thing, but we all do a novel in our own genre about a place here in he picked Texas because he's from Texas, and I said, "Okay, well, what do you got in mind?" He goes, "Well, let's build this mythical city in the Texas Hill Country called Magnolia Bluff, and everybody will have shared characters. We'll have basically a shared map of what outside the reservoir where this place is, and everybody kind of takes some of the characters that you want and use them in the way that you see fit for your particular novel, and we'll publish them in sequence up to the end of this year." So we drew number 5, and we just got it rolled out, I guess, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's our attempt to be able to look at delivering a story that was less technical, but more of the mystery thriller style. And so putting in some of the technical threat. I mean, these podcasters. I think you pretty like that particular avenue on it. These podcasters are trying to drum up business for each one of their businesses, and they move from business to business, except that they're being knocked offline. They're being attacked digitally, and they think that there's something going on nefarious in the town, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, but their podcasts keep getting derailed. And our 2 characters who show up to be able to have a getaway, rekindle their relationship, and basically get away from their high stress jobs. one of them is JJ, and he's a cyber guru guy. Like, I don't want to look at a computer, and that's all he ends up doing throughout the whole book. So, and they uncover some really nefarious stuff, and it's a fun exercise. We get to play with some of the characters that other people have developed. We get to evolve. We built some characters that other people borrowed, and it was it's going to go through to the end of this year with book number 9. Then we'll probably pick up another sequence of nine books again next year. It's the Magnolia Bluff series, and you can find all of those on Amazon, and that's where they're being stored. But we kept our regular tagline, just so you know, Alan, is that technology is today's weapon of choice, and so it's always going to be baked into our books, someplace, maybe slightly, but it won't be. It'll have some position in all of our work. Is what I would expect.
Yeah. Well, Charles, now, where do people find you, and how do you interact on social media? Do you have a website? How do people get to Charles?
Yeah. Okay. So our website, we've got all of our books there. They've also got links to Amazon. It's enigmabookseries.com, and I'll spell it ENIGMABOOKSERIES.com. And then that's where we've got all of our main novels listed. You can buy them a hard copy from us, and we'll sign them, ship them into the U.S. We've got the ebooks that are listed on Amazon. We also have audibles that we got lined up on all of the books that we're quite proud of, because the voice actor we've used across almost all of them he's turned into just a really dynamic individual. And he keeps a library of all the different voices that he uses, because we have quite a few. But it's a fun exercise to be able to have multiple media available. So, because we keep getting this conversation with people that say, "Gee, I don't read that much anymore." I said, "Well, can you listen?" And they go, "Well, yeah, I got a 2-hour drive every morning, or an hour drive every morning. We'd love to be able to listen to the stories." And so that's where we got the idea. Went, all right, let's offer the books also in audible format as well.
Well, fantastic. Now, of course, we're going to have that up on our website too, so people can find it with one click, and if they can't spell. So I appreciate you being here. Now, series we've been talking about is the Enigma series, and we've had one of the authors here today, and that's Charles Breakfield. Thank you for being here.
Gentlemen, appreciate the time to be able to visit with you. Joe, good luck on your rework on your book.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You've been listening to the House of Mystery radio show. To find out more about our guests, hosts, or shows, go to www.houseofmystery.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Yeah. Good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.